BXB. It's in the game!
Hello everyone, it's Christopher Goldthorne here with another review for BXB Games. Today we are looking at Giant Software's perennial surprise hit Farming Simulator. This is the 2019 edition and for the first time ever, Ben has sent me a game I have some prior knowledge of. I want to preface this review by saying that I played the 2015 edition of Farming Simulator extensively, both in single and multiplayer modes. And I, like seemingly everyone else who picked it up, was genuinely surprised by how much fun it was to run a farm. But for many reasons, I haven't bought another edition of the game. I mention this because while I do know something about what to expect, some of the points I make may be applicable to the 2016, 17 and 18 editions, but I haven't had the luxury of playing them, so forgive me if I'm treading over old ground. All that being said, let's plough through this, and see if it's the cream of the crop, or if it's a paltry, excuse for a game. On the face of it, not a huge amount has changed in the 4 years I've been away. The front end, while not identical, is basically the same, and the menu offers no real surprises. The addition of a mods tab is exciting though, and I can't wait to see what the community comes up with, for good or evil. And you get the option for tutorials, career, and multiplayer modes. Whether you've played this series before or not, I would recommend having a quick whiz through the tutorials, as there are new mechanics, at least new to me, at play, and the tutorials are very efficient and well put together. But I imagine that most people will dive straight into career mode, and when they do, the first thing they'll be greeted with is the difficulty settings. There are 3 ways you can start your journey as a farmer. New farmer, for those who want an easier start with basic farm infrastructure already in place. Farm manager, with a large amount of starting capital but you have no land or infrastructure. Or start from scratch, similar to farm manager but with a third of the funds. You can read those from left to right as easy, medium and hard. Once you've chosen that, you get to choose which bit of farmland you want to start your business on. There are 2 choices, Ravensport in the USA and Felsbrunn in Europe. Then it's onto the avatar creation menu. This is pretty standard. You can't change your clothes other than add a jacket. There's one available. It's a vest, waistcoat, gilet situation. Or a hat. The hats are themed to all the various manufacturers within the game, of which there are a substantial number, and you can also change the colour of your shirt and put on some shades. Once you've done that, you are ready to plant some seeds. The 2 game worlds are very nice to look at. The lighting, detailing, flora, topography, even the towns and villages around your land are really well done and implemented very nicely indeed. You really do get the feeling of rural farming country, and the maps themselves are actually pretty big. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not talking GTA 5 levels of real estate, but there is a huge amount of acreage for you to farm in. The basic goal is, unsurprisingly, to become the best farmer you can and to make profit from the land you cultivate. To do this, you have a plethora of vehicles, specialist equipment, and trailers to help you tend to your farm. I don't have time to go through the literal hundreds of vehicles in detail, but I can promise you they are all fully licensed and beautifully rendered in the game engine. However, while we're on the subject of vehicles, we come to my long-standing gripe with Farming Simulator: the physics of the world and of the vehicles. Let us be fair and acknowledge that Farming Simulator has never been the best at physics, but as I return 4 years later, things have not improved all that much, if at all. The cars in particular feel light, almost weightless at times, and all the vehicles can be a little twitchy, and they are all remarkably easy to roll if you're not careful. Also, I was once driving a car at roughly 120 km an hour, and I went straight into a remarkably solid lamppost. The result? The car just stopped. No bounce back, no rolling, nothing. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm focusing on the physics of a game whose main principle is farming, and the reason is this: physics actually plays quite a large part in this game. For starters, you are lifting, hauling and otherwise manoeuvring an awful lot of stuff, most of which is very heavy. And it's always a bit tense as you forklift something as to whether it will actually calmly accept your forks or go screaming off into the undergrowth. Also, if you're driving a tractor that usually feels slow, that struggles up hills because of its weight, and it should do, it's a tractor, and suddenly you end up rolling because your front left tyre caught a slight bump at 12 mph, you're going to start questioning the developer's understanding of the phrase centre of gravity. I'll admit it's a very focused gripe, and normally it wouldn't warrant its own paragraph, but because it's been there since at least the 2015 edition and I honestly can't see any improvements, it needs to be brought up. They've given the graphics and much of the gameplay a huge overhaul and it's come up trumps, so why has the physics been neglected for so long? Anyway, once you have control over your possible death machines, there are several areas of farming for you to cover. Arable farming, where you plough your fields, sow your seeds, harvest your crops and then sell them, boasting 2 new crops, namely cotton and oats. Animal husbandry, where you rear pigs, cows, sheep and, or for the first time ever, horses and then sell them, or their byproducts on. I should point out, you can also ride any horses that you own, which gives a very different method of travelling around the map and is a very welcome addition. Also forestry, which is chopping down trees and selling either the unprocessed wood or the wood chippings. Silage production, a very long-winded process of creating biomass fuel from cut grass, which, while extremely involved and time-heavy, is one of the most profitable routes you can take in the game. And there are also the contracts, where you help out other farmers with your own equipment. There is plenty to keep you busy, and while it can take a lot of time to master all of the processes at play, they are all well implemented and realistic as far as I, a non-farmer, understand them. But there is one last gripe I have. The Xbox gamepad controls are less than intuitive, and while the system is not awful and can be gotten used to, the whole thing feels a little complex. In earlier editions, we had a very contextual style of control scheme, with certain buttons changing or taking on new roles dependent upon what you were interacting with at the time. In this iteration, however, we are given control menus almost, with heavy reliance upon the shoulder buttons of the controller. This change isn't awful or game-breaking, but it does feel unnecessary. The control scheme we had worked just fine, and the contextual element to it actually felt pretty solid and well implemented. As I said in my introduction, this change may not be new. It may have happened while I was away, but whenever it happened, I can't help but think that the old system wasn't broken, so it didn't need fixing. So overall, what do I think about Farming Simulator 2019? It is a big step forward in some areas, annoyingly rigid in some, and a step back in others. The gameplay is solid, with a well-balanced in-game economy, and even the updated building placement and land buying systems are slick and well implemented. But the ongoing issue with the physics being laughable, other simulators, while not masterworks in the field, managed to at least give a nod to Newton and Einstein, and the slightly overcomplicated control layout do drag it back a bit. But despite that, it keeps doing what it's always done, being surprisingly entertaining and engaging, and it does farming very well. So, it's still got some growing to do, but it's a solid offering, and it's going to reap a reward of 3 stars. If you've enjoyed this review, or just the sultry sound of my pleasing baritone voice, you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/HumbleGamerTube as The Humble Gamer, and you can also find me on twitch.tv/HumbleGamerTwitch, which is where I stream once a week every Monday at 8:30 PM GMT. And as always, please come back to bxbgames.co.uk and their YouTube page for even more great content.
BXB. It's in the game.